Hey y'all, welcome into another Saints live chat powered by NOLA.com. My name is Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer, coming at you solo today, but we have a lot to talk about. It's Friday, final injury report of the week, which means that we have game day designations for the Saints and the Bears. If there are any players who are already deemed inactive, we will find out today, and that's exactly what happened. If you have any questions, comments, anything, throw them in the chat, and I'll try to get to them in the back half once we go through the inactives. There aren't many to go through, but there are important ones, and we'll hit them up here. I have our homepage over here to my left. If you're looking for any Saints news, any coverage, any analysis, make sure to head over to NOLA.com/sports/Saints, and you'll be able to find it there. I'm going to pop over from that to the actual Saints injury report and make it a little bigger over here on my screen so y'all can see it. So, well, that's not easier to see. Let's see. Yeah, well, you're just going to have to squint. I can zoom in a little bit and make that easier for you. Actually, hold on. Let me stop that one and try it on another browser. We're going at you in real time here, so bear with me. It's important to me that you can see what I am looking at. I don't know why. I just want you to know. All right, let's try this out. All right, that's a little better. Let's zoom in. So as you can see, the Saints do not have a ton of people listed inactive for for the wild card matchup against the Bears, but there are two players who are listed as out. One is Nick Easton. We knew he was going to be out. He's actually on injured reserve with that concussion. The other, Trey Hendrickson. Big loss there on the defensive line. Obviously, he's had that neck injury for a few weeks now. He was able to play in week 17. He had a limited practice on Wednesday, but he was not able to make it through the week in practice, and he will not be playing on Sunday. So what does that mean for the Saints defensive line? Well, you're going to be relying on guys like Carl Granderson. Cam Jordan's going to have if it's bad news for anyone, it's bad news for Cam Jordan because what Trey Hendrickson's emergence has really meant for him specifically is, fewer double teams, fewer chips that he has to deal with as he's trying to get upfield. And that will not be the case with Trey Hendrickson out of the lineup, the Saints sack leader for 2020, 13 and a half sacks on the season. I want to say that put him in third across the entire NFL. And he's been a real great story in a contract year for him. He was snubbed from the Pro Bowl, but I think we all know the guy Trey Hendrickson is. He had a sack right on the first possession of the game last week to really set the tone and force a punt. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Saints can get to Mitchell Trubisky, keep him in the pocket and make sure that he isn't extending plays and making life difficult on the Saints in the secondary by forcing them to cover for extended periods of time. But I think that, as I said, when Trey Hendrickson was out in week 16, Carl Granderson has actually had a really solid season coming in those kind of spot roles. He came in after Cam Jordan got ejected against the Chiefs, and he was part of that, scissor collision that forced the fumble from Patrick Mahomes late in the game. So I think that you're going to see a very stout backup performance from him. But it does impact what you're going to do there. And we'll see how that develops if the Saints win this game and go forward. He's going to be a very important guy as the Saints try to make a run of the Super Bowl, assuming they beat the Bears. What is his status going forward? It wouldn't shock me if this was a situation where they're taking kind of the longer approach than thinking, okay, if he comes out this week and re-injures it and we lose him for the rest of the playoffs, what does that mean? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But one way or another, you look at the Saints injury report, and what's striking are the guys who are not listed as out, right? So you have Marcus Williams, full practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's a good thing. Obviously, you're going to get him back. Big, important part of that secondary that's back in action. Taysom Hill, another guy, he left the field midway through the fourth quarter against the Panthers, and it was ruled he had a concussion. He didn't come back in. Limited practice Wednesday, full practice the last 2 days. Another good sign, and you're going to get him back. And guys returning to practice this week, Michael Thomas, Deontay Harris, CJ Gardner-Johnson was cleared from COVID today, as he announced to the world last night on Twitter. Alvin Kamara still a question mark. He's supposed to come off the COVID list on Sunday. It still remains to be seen whether he will be a part of the game plan, a significant part of the game plan, or active at all. You're just going to have to wait and see on that. You're not going to get any hints from Sean Payton other than trying to misdirect the other team one way or the other. So we're going to have to see on that. All the running backs other than Alvin Kamara are back in action. You got Latavius Murray, Wayne Washington, and Michael Burton back at practice this week. So all things considered, the Saints are coming into this matchup about as healthy as they have been all season. When you look at how things developed with the decision to put Michael Thomas and Deontay Harris on IR before week 15 with the goal of getting those guys healthy. They've been battling injuries, and the goal was to get them healthy as you got to the playoffs. They come off IR, and you get to go into a game with as healthy of a roster as you can. And, in hindsight, that was the smartest move they could have made, because it didn't really matter whether they beat the Chiefs. The Saints were not going to get the 1 seed. The best case scenario, if the Packers won out after losing to the Eagles, was the 2 seed, and that's what they got. So that loss to the Chiefs really didn't mean anything in the long run. They still got the 2 seed. They still have, the potential to go to the NFC Championship in Green Bay if they get there. If the Packers lose and the Saints get to the NFC Championship, it would be at the Superdome. So the gamble paid off there. You still gave yourself a chance to get that 1 seed, and the Packers never lost. So the silver lining there is you should have a healthy Michael Thomas. You're going to have to wait and see. He still hasn't been added to the active roster, so you're not going to see him on the injury report here one way or the other. But all indications are that he's going to be full go. You would like to see him hopefully get through that game without any further injury concerns on that ankle. It's been an injury that has hampered him all season long. He suffered it in week 1 against the Bucs. He was out until week 9 again against the Bucs, and clearly just wasn't coming along the way that they wanted it to, and it was still bugging him, and that's why you saw him go on injured reserve. Deontay Harris coming back. Sorry if you hear a dog barking in the background. He's losing his mind. Deontay Harris coming back is another thing that, you can't measure his impact in the return game. He hasn't quite had the season that you saw from him last year in his all-pro season, even when healthy. But he's a guy who can break a game at any point. So that's important. I'm going to scroll down here to the Bears injury report, which is going to force me to zoom out because the Bears decided to list 16 players on their final injury report. It was 19 yesterday. 2 guys that are not on here today, Akeem Hicks and Jimmy Graham, were listed on here as veteran rest days. Both of those guys will play, both former Saints, if you recall those years. Both third-round draft picks who went on to be Pro Bowl players, and obviously we all know about Jimmy Graham, but Akeem Hicks is a huge piece for them in the middle. They're going to have him. He was banged up last week. The other guy on here that is notable, Allen Robinson. He has been listed with a hamstring injury. He didn't play last week, if I'm correct, if I believe. And so he was a full practice on Wednesday, full practice on Wednesday. They didn't practice yesterday. Practice limited today, but he is not listed with a game day designation. So all indications are you will see a full go from Allen Robinson, which, he's an excellent wide receiver. It always amazes me how overlooked he is when you talk about the top tier of wide receivers. He is in it. He is legit. And it's just a question. The only question with Allen Robinson is who's throwing on the ball. And this time you're going to get Mitch Trubisky, and it's going to be who knows. He's played his whole career with guys named Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky this year, Nick Foles for part of the season, and but he's a guy who can burn you. So he'll be interesting to watch. The only player listed as out for the Bears, Buster Screen with a concussion. You have 3 other guys: Darnell Mooney, Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, all listed as questionable. That the NFL changed their injury reporting a few years ago, so there's no probable anymore. It's only questionable or out. So questionable is probably a go. But, Roquan Smith is an excellent linebacker. He's going to be a guy to watch as you head toward game day. But let's see. Let's go through any questions, see if anyone was throwing in. Will Hood will need to keep Thomas's usage as low as possible. I don't think so. I think the whole point of putting him on IR was to make sure that by the time you got to the playoffs, knowing that you were already clinched in the playoffs, you were just wanted to make sure that he was 100%, that he was as close to 100% as possible, so that you don't have to limit his usage, so that you can confidently send him out there for however many snaps he needs to play. And you're not worried that he's just only operating at 80%, 75%. I don't think you're going to see a limited Michael Thomas. I think you're going to see a full go from him. But we'll find out. Will's been active in here. I agree. I think getting Deontay Harris back in the return game and hopefully healthy, hopefully he's kicked that neck issue that had been bugging him, will have a big impact. I mean, Marquez Callaway, Tommy Lee Lewis, Austin Carr, whoever they've been throwing back there the last few weeks, they've done fine. They've done a fine job, but they just don't have the explosion. They don't have the big playability that Deontay Harris has. So he's a guy that you are really happy to see back. And we'll just have to, all these guys are coming back from COVID. They're coming back from injured reserve. You just hope to see that they get through the game, that they don't re-injure anything that they've been dealing with. And I think that's the biggest part this week, is just playing smart, playing healthy. Kamara in or out? Yeah, Tyler, this is just something that we will not know. We will not know until Sunday, because Sean Payton will not tell you. It is just the Saints have a way of keeping these situations under wraps until the last second. They use it to their advantage whenever they can, and this is just going to be another situation where you're going to have to listen to what's said and then throw it out the window, because it's probably a misdirection anyway. I think he's going to be active one way or the other, assuming he gets cleared from the protocol. The question is going to be, how much is Alvin Kamara used? They've been trying to keep him in the loop in terms of planning, in terms of game plan, film study, all that over Zoom. And I don't know. I don't know how difficult it would be to kind of get your mind where it needs to be for game day over Zoom without practicing for a week and a half. Who knows? But I think one way or another, you're going to see him in a limited role compared to what you would normally have. So whether that's 60% of what the snaps he would normally take, 80%, 20%, whether he's completely out there as a decoy, who knows? But it's not going to be an answer you get until the Saints get out there on the field on Sunday. And you can stream it on Nickelodeon. Maybe that'll help ease some of the pressure. They're going to have a Nickelodeon simulcast with this whole bonanza. And I don't even know what to expect other than a lot of slime. Sean Payton said that he didn't even know that the game was going to be simulcast on Nickelodeon until he saw a tweet about himself getting slimed. And he said that he volunteers to be slimed if the Saints win. So keep an eye out for that one too. Does Trey Hendrickson have the same injury? I mean, they both have neck injuries, but I don't know if the same is a it's tough to know exactly what the injury is. Again, with these injuries, you don't get a ton of details. When you see neck on the injury report, a lot of the times that's all you're getting. Usually you don't end up getting like real descriptive information unless a guy goes out for the season and he has to have surgery, and there's no competitive advantage to, keeping that low key. That's what happened with Kamara. You didn't find out until postseason when he revealed it that it was an MCL injury last year. And that's going to be the same thing this year. So, for instance, Marcus Davenport was listed on the injury report to start the season as, he had an elbow, then he had a toe, whatever that means. It's always tough with these injuries. But if these are significant neck injuries, you wouldn't try to play through them. So it's tough. But I think you're just going to have to wait and see on Trey Hendrickson. Graham won't produce against us. Well, I don't know if won't is the word. Can he is the question. And, he's a red zone guy. From what Saints remember Jimmy Graham, they're going to be remembering this explosive, dynamic guy. He's still a good tight end. He's not that guy anymore. But he's a guy, when you get into the red zone, he's going to be a target. He's still huge. He can still go up and get the ball. And I think if you hear from Jimmy Graham a lot in this game, it will be inside the 20-yard line when the Bears get there, because that is where he has made his biggest impact in the last few years. Did Mike practice today? Yeah, Mike has been at practice all week. So the issue is, for whatever reason, the NFL does not require teams to add them to the injury report or the practice availability until they list their inactives on Saturdays or Sundays. whatever the timetable is. So he's not going to be on this injury report one way or the other. So he could have theoretically not practiced today, and we actually wouldn't know because they didn't let the media in, and he's not on the injury report because he's not on the active roster. So by all accounts, he did practice throughout the week. He was there on Wednesday, and so as far as we know, he did. Taysom Dad. Secondary has his number. Who knows? All I'll say is the game in week 8 against the Bears, if you're looking at that game and trying to pull any real strong connections from how that game went versus how this game is going to go, it's probably a lost cause because this Bears team is completely different from an offensive perspective than what you saw in week 8. I mean, Nick Foles is a fine quarterback. He's obviously won a Super Bowl. You saw him in the playoffs a few years ago against the Saints. But the way he operates versus the way Nick Foles operates, two completely different wavelengths. Mitch Trubisky is a much more mobile guy. He's going to run the read option. He's going to run zone reads. He's going to get outside the pocket. He's going to try to use his legs to create opportunities downfield the way Nick Foles could not and cannot. And so I don't think that game is going to have much of a resemblance to the way this one could turn out and probably will turn out. But all right, I think that's about it. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. I'd like to thank everyone who jumped in, who followed along here. Hope I got to as many questions as I could. And if y'all want to ask me any more questions, you want to hit me up on Twitter. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak. The Twitter handle is Jeff_Nowak because someone stole my name on Twitter and I had to put that stupid line in there. But DMs are always open. Feel free to follow. Feel free to tag me in anything and I'll get back to you. But otherwise, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Hancock Whitney Bank, for helping us bring you all these live chats. I really enjoyed doing them. I'll be back with you on Sunday pregame for a nice live chat pregame as we've been doing. And we'll see what happens until then. Thanks, y'all. Peace. Where is it? I have a video to close out these, and I always forget to get them ready before I say goodbye. So that is why it looked really awkward, and it hasn't ended yet, but here we go.